This week in the show, we're ranking our top 10 villains of all time. Stick around for murderers, dictators, and federal agents. I'm David.
And I'm Caolan.
And this is Two Men the Podcast. Right, so top 10 villains this week, Caolan. You came very prepared. You know, this was done weeks in advance, wasn't it?
No, well, yeah, kind of. I had my list, but I have ripped my 5, 4, and 2 or something. I can't remember exactly what number they were. This morning, yeah. Well, I had like 4 last night, which is this morning, I suppose. I ripped them off because technically I don't think they fit our criteria from last week of antagonists.
Yeah, antagonists rather than villainous.
Just villainous.
Protagonists.
Protagonists. It's a debate worth having, I suppose. We'll do it at the end.
Yeah, we'll run over the criteria is that obviously one per franchise.
One per franchise, which did fuck me when I had to try and squeeze more in at the end to replace my 3.
I've had 2 places on my list that were split between one from either from a franchise.
Yeah, I did that with my number 6.
Okay.
It could have easily been someone else, but I went with this one. I'll explain later. Yeah, so it's just one per franchise, and they have to actually be the antagonist of the.
Yeah.
Can't be Harley Quinn as the villain of Suicide Squad. It would have to be that witch monster thing played by the model. David, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, I'll kick us off. My number 10 is a bit of a classic. It's Darth Vader.
Yeah, this is the one I thought you said earlier you had obvious ones that needed to be on it.
Yeah,
this is the one that's not on mine because I've never seen it.
Okay, yeah. I think, he is great. The original Star Wars movies are great. All the movies after that are shit.
I've seen 2 of them.
There you go, and you thought they were great, didn't you?
I thought Empire's great.
Yeah, Empire Strikes Back,
yeah. I didn't like the first one as much.
The first one's not
What's the first one called? A New Hope? Is that part 4?
I have no idea.
Whatever the first original Star Wars film is, it's not as good as it's not as good as Empire. Empire's great.
The second was the best one, yeah, by a distance.
Empire's very, very good.
And if you look at even now, Star Wars is probably one of the biggest franchises in the world.
Oh, easy.
Up there with the MCU. I think the MCU is the only one that comes near.
And I don't even think it does.
Yeah. And that's purely off the initial 3. It created the secret family twist, which has been used in James Bond.
Whoa.
Powerpuff
Spoiler alert
Girls.
for James Bond.
and even Spider-Man. Into the Spider-Verse it was used in.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, Vader as well. The original trilogy is good, but it is still a movie made in the 70s, 80s.
Both, maybe?
Yeah, I think it's spread across it. And Vader's the best part in it. Mark Hamill, his acting is quite wonky in the first one.
In the first one, it's terrible.
It's awful, yeah.
No, it's not good.
But
although I don't think that's the one problem with the first one. The first one's paced so strange.
Yeah. The movies aren't without issue, but I think Vader is a perfect villain, especially for them. And I think he's almost become a cliche, and I think that's a credit to him as much as anything else.
He is the opposite of what a lot of these villains are that I think we're going to talk about. Now, what you think of a great villain, you think just a boring hero.
Yeah.
As long as there's a charismatic villain to bounce off.
Yeah.
Whereas Darth Vader's almost just a blank slate.
Exactly,
You can think anything about him, you can hit it with anything, and it all lands.
And I think he came back actually for Rogue One, which
is one of the trilogy, or it's a spin-off?
No, it was
is that the one with Daenerys Targaryen in it? Or is that... No, that's
the Solo. Okay. This is the one with Mads Mikkelsen in it. But he's only in it for one scene, and he's just absolutely terrifying. He doesn't say a word. I don't think he says a word anyway.
Is Rogue One set the originals are?
Yeah, it's just before the originals, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's when they're building the Death Star. He's just brilliant. I think he is the granddad of all villains.
Oh yeah. Oh no, he would 100% sit at number 1 if it was
most influential.
If it's an objective list.
Yeah.
But just because I haven't seen more than the 2 films, and I don't even think he's not too massive a part of
the first one.
First one.
No.
So it's just Empire I've seen him in, really.
Yeah.
And I've heard he gets bitched out at some stage to the big guy.
Oh yeah.
The big guy's the big villain.
Yeah, he's working for
Palpatine. I've only seen Empire, so Darth Vader is the guy I know.
Yeah.
And I love him so much. So yeah, I'll accept that.
My number 10. So what's yours?
Mine is less of an objective top 10.
Okay.
But I think she's fantastic. And just because it's 2020, let's get some gender roles reversed. Women can be villains. I have Amy Dunn from Gone Girl.
Okay, yeah.
Because I love this movie. Okay, now I think she's the weirdest one on this. There's no other ones where I think you'd be you might question my...
Yeah.
For one, what she got me to do is like Ben Affleck.
That's impressive.
So that's That's enough to get you in this list on its own.
Yeah.
But two, I just think she's like, the best villains have like good reasons.
Yeah, a good motive.
Like, I think when Amy talks about like stuck in like the marriage, and it's exaggerated, definitely. I'm not gonna blame someone for my death and then come back and get pregnant with their semen child that I kept.
Yeah, she may have gone a little bit over the top with it, but
yeah, but her methods are questionable, but her motives are good.
Yeah.
It's a great film.
It is, yeah.
She's not even a villain until what, halfway through the film?
Oh yeah.
She's dead until halfway through the film, which admittedly kind of is a spoiler, I suppose, for Gone Girl, but
it's heavily hinted at.
It's the whole point of the movie, so I'm not gonna take it in. But her scene with Neil Patrick Harris is,
yes.
Well, our series of scenes with Neil Patrick Harris are enough to get her on this list on its own.
Yeah.
Because I love Neil Patrick Harris topless.
Fair.
And covered in blood. Yeah. I love it. I don't have too much to say about Amy. I just wanted her on my list because I wanted to represent.
Yeah, I respect that. You know, I'm after giving a little glance through my list and there's no women on mine. Good to know one of us is a feminist.
I looked through a lot of lists just for like inspiration, and I didn't see many women either.
Yeah.
I actually didn't see Amy anywhere, but it was just when I was like looking through Netflix or whatever for a film, it was when I seen her. My honourable mention later was kicked off for Amy, so I'll let you know later what that was. But
can't wait.
Your number 9, David.
My number 9. This is one of the ones where I was split between two villains from a franchise. So very sorry to Clubber Lang, but it's Ivan Drago from Rocky 4 and Creed 2 that makes my list, played by the amazing Dolph Lundgren.
That photo of Dolph Lundgren, sorry, just before we even talk, did you ever see the photo of him on the beach bed thing, just covering his peen?
No, I haven't.
I'll try and search it up later, but it's greatness.
It sounds great. Yeah, I love the Rocky films. The old ones are just classic, just campy, dumb fun. And I think with the last three, the 2 Creed films and Rocky Balboa, they did veer more into like serious drama. And you've got, first of all, Ivan Drago in Rocky 4 kills Apollo Creed. So mild spoiler for the 40-year-old film.
Yeah.
But
and the setup for the newer.
Yeah, exactly.
I suppose.
In Rocky 4, Ivan Drago is this like just this machine. Like he barely talks at all. He has his wife do all the talking for him. And then when Rocky beats him, in Creed 2 you see that he basically lost all this respect in Russia. He was exiled to Siberia. Or not Siberia, he was exiled to Ukraine. And he basically had to live with his son. His wife left him. His wife was like this high-ranking politician. She left him. He was like this army colonel or something. And basically how Rocky ruined his life. And now he's come back basically to have his son kill Apollo Creed's son. And he's so good because he comes across as this one-dimensional just like man monster in
man meat, yeah.
Exactly, in the Rocky movies. And then he comes back in Creed as like this sympathetic villain. Like he's had everything taken away from him. And it's not his fault. It's because of the culture he's from. And it's just so good.
I have not seen Creed 2. I also don't have the love for the Rocky films that you have.
Yeah.
I think they're fine, like, but I don't have the admiration.
Fair.
I do like Ivan Drago though.
Yeah.
The I will break you is.
If he dies, he dies.
That's like one of the great movie lines.
Yeah, exactly.
Fantastic. I don't have the affirmation. I will let you have it.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to question one of them, I'm sure, but this isn't the one. I'm going to veto one of your choices.
Okay,
this
right.
Is not it.
Right.
Okay. My number 9 is not questionable. It's one of the 2 TV villains I have.
Okay.
And I only have him at number 9 because I think it's slightly unfair that a TV show against a movie for this type of thing. Because
more
I think
space.
3 seasons is way more time to build a villain than it is in a 90-minute film or whatever.
Yeah.
But I have Gus Fring.
Well, I'll tell you my number 8 right now is Gus Fring.
That's greatness.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gus Fring is ridiculous.
He's so good.
We may be the only people in the world who look at Giancarlo Esposito and think, that's not Gus Fring, that's your Hawthorne's brother.
Yeah.
But,
that was his defining role, but that got him the push into Breaking Bad.
Gus Fring, he's in Better Call Saul as well.
Yes.
But I have not finished Better Call Saul.
He's brilliant.
I've got through the first season of Gus Fring in Better Call Saul.
Yeah.
But I haven't got back to it. But just everything Gus does, like, when you think of Gus, I think of, the scene where they're at the lab or whatever with Jesse.
Yeah.
And the sniper starts shooting at him.
Yeah.
And he just stands and looks.
Yeah. He just walks out.
Or the one that I think fucking epitomizes Gustavo Fring.
Yeah.
Is when he goes to, where is it? It's in Cuba or something. He goes to...
down to Mexico to meet the cartel.
Yeah, just to visit the cartel.
Yeah.
And he spikes all the drinks.
Yeah.
Takes a drink. And then just calmly goes to the bathroom, takes his jacket off, puts the towel down, and throws up all over the place. Gustavo Fring is a hero.
Yeah, I have him as he's just always cool, calm, and collected. He's just a constant like steady hand. 2 scenes I had written about him were the box cutter scene.
Oh yes.
Where he just opens someone up with a box cutter.
Victor.
Yes, Victor.
Who spends the whole minute before that getting roasted by Walter White.
Yeah. And then the Face Off episode, which is the season 4 finale. Yeah, which is brilliant.
It's so easy for it to be overdone, like to be overshot with the face hanging off and walking out with the suit, but it just works.
And the fact he walks out and just like tightens his tie as he goes out, it's just perfect.
It works perfect.
And like you say, he's in Better Call Saul, and I think he is even better in Better Call Saul just because he's on screen more.
Yeah.
I think you could just have a camera pointed at him 24 hours a day, and I think it would be incredible.
Yeah, I did. Giancarlo Esposito is fantastic.
He
is in the Far Cry 6 that's coming up.
Yes.
Well, it was meant to be out in like February. It's now April or something, I think.
But
he is now the reason. Like, I can't think of a more perfect fit than Far Cry.
Yeah, exactly.
Who loves its charismatic villain and Giancarlo Esposito. I just want Gus Fring in that game. Is that Cuba? Why am I thinking of Cuba?
That's Central America somewhere. It could be Cuba or something.
Whatever.
I think it's a fictional country in Central
Oh,
America.
yeah, but it's
essentially Cuba, yeah.
Like, Right, well, your number 8 is Gus Fring.
Yeah.
So we'll jump back to me for my number 8. Hans Gruber.
Yes, okay. I don't have him, but very good.
Do you have the other man named Hans?
I do not.
Hans Gruber is one of the best characters, not only villains. Alan Rickman is unrecognizable as Hans Gruber. So much so that they brought his brother back for. Is it his brother for 3?
Yeah, the half brother comes back.
The half brother comes back. Yeah, the whole film could just be like, forget about any of John McClane's scenes. I don't want to look at him. I want cam on him, even if it's just Hans Gruber sitting at a desk just talking about football. I want to watch it because the accent's intoxicating. The whole film's great, but this is the first, I think, of an okay hero bouncing off a fantastic villain that just elevates. Like, Bruce Willis isn't the best action star of all time.
No.
But he seems it when he comes up against Alan Rickman. Anything he does touches turns to gold. Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on Alan Rickman as...
I didn't even think of Hans Gruber.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I didn't. He probably would have made my list at some point. That's such a shout. I can't believe I didn't think of that.
Yeah, Hans Gruber is fantastic. I'm shocked you didn't think of that.
Yeah.
I'm actually slightly surprised he came in at number 8.
Yeah.
But I think my top 5 is my top 5. My number 6 could be lower maybe. And my number 7 I'll get to. Your number 7, David.
Yeah, so my number 7 is a movie I've stated as one of my favourite films on this podcast quite recently, actually. It's Colonel Jessup from A Few Good Men, played by Jack Nicholson, who I think Jack Nicholson is one of the best villainous actors of all time. He's just a terrifying man. I just love him in this. From even when he's not particularly villainous, when Tom Cruise goes down to the base to, get to get the details, and he's just so fucking snide and confident and self-assured. Like, there's one point where he asks him for some documents about the flight paths in and out of the base, and he just kind of goes, yeah, of course, but you have to ask me nicely. And he just starts, dropping some homophobic slurs as well at Tom Cruise. Stand there in your white suit,
White suit.
Yeah.
Most famous Pride outfit.
Yeah, but he basically just tears him apart, and he just says, so ask me nicely. And that monologue in the courtroom scene at the end it's so good.
It's iconic.
It's iconic, yeah, exactly. And even his outburst after that, when he's found guilty and he just fucking lunges at Tom Cruise and go, I'll rip off your skull and piss in your, or I'll rip off your head and piss in your eye socket, or it was something like that. And it's just brilliant. And I just love Jack Nicholson, and I had to get him in here somewhere.
Yeah, I would have had Jack Nicholson in here had we not had that one per franchise rule.
Oh, okay.
Or one type of person.
I think I know.
You know exactly.
Yeah.
Because not as A Few Good Men, I wouldn't have even thought of that.
Yeah.
He's not even the type of villain I would have thought of, actually, yeah. But I would have had him in, because his Joker is...
His Joker is brilliant, yeah.
Jack Nicholson is fantastic in that villainous role. Yeah, A Few Good Men's a great shot. I never thought of it as that. I didn't think of it as the type of film with a villain, I suppose. Yeah.
This was one where I had, like, my top 10... I don't remember what I took off for this, but I had my top 10 sorted, and then I was like, fuck. And I just had to put him on.
My number 7, David.
Yeah.
Is in here, but because of what he represents, what he turned a good idea into, I have Thanos.
Okay, yeah.
Because, probably not because he's the best villain on this list.
Yeah.
Which, like I said, I think Hans Gruber might be a better villain. But just because of what Thanos represents. Yeah. Like, Thanos is the MCU. Like, how many years did they get out of this? 12? 14? 2008 was the first Iron Man film.
12 years.
So 12 years out of it.
Yeah.
Give or take. It was like 2019, I think, 2018 it ended. But it's still been pushed now. The Avengers game came out this year.
Yeah.
But Thanos, if you don't have that good villain to back, because the MCU struggles with good villains in one-off films. There's only a couple you could pick that don't come back more and more. Like can't remember his name, but the guy from Civil War was a good villain. Whatever.
Daniel Bruhl plays him.
The guy whose family was destroyed by
I forget his name.
Avengers or whatever. But for every Civil War or Loki, there's a Guardians of the Galaxy or a Thor.
Yeah.
So Thanos just sitting in the corner, like his first film is the Avengers in the post-credit scene.
Yeah.
And he doesn't come back then till Ultron at the end, maybe?
I think.
Or does he come up in...
He comes up in Guardians.
Oh, Guardians, yes, you're right. But he doesn't show up properly himself until, like, Infinity War, Endgame, all that stuff.
And that's the thing, that his opening scene in Infinity War, he needs no introduction. You know who this is.
Exactly.
And you've heard nothing about him. You could have heard nothing about him, but just the way he walks in.
The way it carries himself. Just his... Again, he's one of those villains where has a half-decent motive. The idea of what he's doing isn't necessarily the problem. It's just how he goes about stuff. Also, he's exactly as an exaggerated that I love.
Exactly, yeah.
He has all the seriousness and he carries himself well, but he's...
And some of his lines are brilliant as well. Just they're so like kind of like philosophically
even just the
quotable.
You should have gone for the head is a fantastic.
It's brilliant. All brilliantly delivered by Josh Brolin as well.
Yeah.
I think this is something I'll talk about as well, but I think something I always love in a villain is like a true believer. It's someone who understands that what they're doing, it's not ideal, but they truly believe in their cause, kind of a thing.
Yeah, just something to get behind.
Yeah.
I love Thanos.
Yeah.
And I'm slightly biased just because I love the MCU.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to talk about it. But I just think Thanos is, like I said, he's probably not the best one, but he definitely had to make this list, and I don't think it's a bad choice. Do you have anything left to say on Thanos before we jump to your number 6?
He did make my list because a different MCU villain made my list, which I'll get to in a bit.
Shock if it's not him, it's someone else.
Yeah. But
I said there's not too many great ones.
Yeah, but that's about it. Yeah, brilliant villain. Josh Brolin's fantastic in that film. My number 6 is from a movie that I did love, but it was kind of ruined after it came out quite soon after the film that two of the main actors were massive pieces of shit.
Okay.
And this is Baby Driver. But
who's a piece of shit?
Kevin Spacey and I forget his name.
The guy who plays Baby Driver.
Yeah.
Is that your man from Fault in the Star?
Ansel Elgort or something. Yeah. Them two, yeah.
I didn't even know Kevin Spacey was in it. So.
Oh yeah, quite a large role as well.
Oh, okay, that makes sense then.
But the villain of this is played by a
it's
wonderful
not Kevin
man.
Spacey?
No.
Oh.
The villain of this is played by a wonderful man, John Hamm, and he plays Buddy.
Oh.
Buddy, who is this... He's this ex-Wall Street guy. He's basically Don Draper, if Don Draper was Robin Banks.
I love John Hamm.
Yeah, John Hamm is brilliant. He is classic John Hamm. Imagine if Don Draper just ran off with a stripper and now robs banks with her.
Wow, Don Draper running off with a stripper, I believe.
Yeah. But... and he's just so classic, charming John Hamm, and he just, flipping a switch, you just see his face just get serious, and he just turns like that into this menacing, terrifying villain, and into a complete maniac. His hair's great in this, as it usually is.
So this film has lines.
Has what?
Lines.
Lines?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why did...
Wait, what?
What about the market then made me think that this film was told entirely through music?
Well, music's a big part of it.
Yeah. I thought, because in the trailer, he's listening to music in his earphone.
Yeah.
And you can't hear what they're saying.
Okay, yeah.
I thought that was the film.
No. So what the thing is with Baby Driver is he's got tinnitus, so he's constantly listening to music to drown out the ringing in his ear. Yeah. But no, it is told from
I thought it was told from his perspective, so you can't hear what people say.
Oh no.
Oh well, that's why I never watched it. That's why I never got round to it.
Also starring
because
Jamie Foxx is brilliant in it as another kind of villain.
Oh yes, I've seen him in the trailer.
Yeah,
maybe.
and John Bernthal's only in it for 20 minutes, but he's so good in everything he does.
Oh yes,
he's
John
fantastic.
Bernthal's fantastic.
I love John Bernthal.
If there's ever a man for getting the most out of barely any time, it's John Bernthal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Actually, I might have to check it out now just because I now know it has lines.
And has John Hamm.
It's not just like Madonna for an hour and a half.
Yeah.
A lot of these villains, David, we're saying we like because they're charismatic and they speak well and they believe in their cause.
Yeah.
I am gonna challenge you right now. Has there ever been a villain that you just despised? No redeeming qualities. Not even like a charismatic, entertaining watch. Than Joffrey Baratheon.
Absolutely not.
I think this is the one where I said it could have been Ramsay Snow.
Yeah.
But why I went for Joffrey is just because you can enjoy Ramsay Snow. You can enjoy how brutal and how because he speaks so well,
and he has a bit of fun with it.
And he has fun with it, and he flows so greatly. Joffrey is just insufferable.
Yeah. Oh, he's just awful.
I think a lot of people forget about it now because of what it became. Game of Thrones was at one stage the best show on television.
Yeah.
Like, I speak all the time about how Breaking Bad is the best show ever made. And why I say that is because it's constantly amazing. Game of Thrones has that for about 5 seasons, and then it tails. So the fact that Game of Thrones can't hang on to it, in some ways, might have something to do with the fact that I don't think the villains get more clouded.
Yeah.
And I think Cersei's a great villain too. But again, how Cersei goes, it all dips.
Yeah.
Whereas Joffrey, he dies in what?
Yeah, start of season 4.
Yeah, it's early and it's out of nowhere.
Yeah.
If you read the books, it's not, I suppose. But Joffrey doesn't have time to get stale because you want more as much as you hate him.
Yeah.
You want to see people cut him down. So even the fact that he goes out like that, you're disappointed to see him die. But just Joffrey with Sansa, with Ned, Arya, with Tyrion, with the Hound. Every single scene, you want to see this man get his head cut off.
Yeah.
And even when it happens, it doesn't feel vicious enough.
Yeah.
And I think if that's not a sign of a great villain, I don't know what is.
Yeah.
He's probably the only one on this list that you just despise.
Okay, yeah.
Redeeming qualities at all.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on?
Yeah, I think it's a great shout. I didn't include it, and I think Game of Thrones kind of has been tainted almost for me.
Yeah.
Because like even if you go back and like watch from the first episode, Jaime, Tyrion, and Cersei and Jon, they're all big parts of like the show from the start, and Daenerys of course. And I think going back and watching them is like, I know what's coming. I don't want to watch this. But with Joffrey, his arc in the show was
because you know
brilliant.
where it's going. And
yeah,
it's perfect.
Exactly. Yeah.
Game of Thrones is a whole other discussion that I want to get into at some stage. But I love Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Like no matter where it goes, it'll always be one of my favorite shows because no matter how hard season 8 falls off a cliff, I just think season 1 to 6 at least. I think 7. I like 7 a lot more than most people do, but there's no redeeming 8. And even the first 2 episodes of 8 are great. It's once the. But I'm not getting into this discussion. We're going to get stuck here for hours.
Yeah, is the whole.
What's your number
discussion.
5, David?
My number 5 is the MCU villain I was talking about.
And it's.
Who do you think it is?
It's Loki.
No.
It's not Loki.
No. The Netflix villains.
So yes.
I was split right down the middle between Kilgrave and Fisk.
Oh, yes.
And I decided to go with Fisk because I think Fisk is much more. I think he's got more to him. Like Kilgrave is just an evil piece of shit.
I would probably go with Kilgrave.
Yeah, I think they try to kind of make you feel sorry for Kilgrave, but I just think no, he's just such a piece of shit. Like I think Fisk, he's like this, like we've talked about before. He's the kind of true believer. Like he honestly believes that he's doing good, that he has to like do the things he does to make New York a better place. Kind of similar to Fring, he's usually like calm and collected, but then completely opposite to Gustavo Fring. When he loses his temper, he fucking loses it. The scene where he kills the Russian by basically he just beats the shit out of him, throws him to like opens his car door, throws him against the car and just decapitates him. Yeah, brilliant stuff. He almost plays like 2 or 3 different characters. Vincent D'Onofrio does. Yeah, and Vincent D'Onofrio was brilliant.
Yeah, has there been a more perfect casting?
I don't think so.
In the MCU.
No.
Sure. No. Well, maybe like the films, but in the shows, there's definitely not.
No, I think, and like it helps that he's up against Charlie Cox's Daredevil, who's also an excellent casting.
Kind of funny looking back on it now, just how good that first run of MCU television shows is.
Yeah.
Because when you look at where it goes.
Yeah. Even the Daredevil stage, pretty good.
Couldn't bring myself to watch season 3. So, but if you look like Daredevil's fantastic, Jessica Jones season 1's fantastic, Luke Cage season 1 is great at times.
Yeah, I'd say it's great. I'd say it's great until about kind of episode 7, 8.
Yeah, once they get rid of Cottonmouth.
Yeah.
But yeah, the MCU shows fall off a cliff.
Oh yeah.
But what I will say is Vincent D'Onofrio as Fisk is a shout that I didn't even consider. I never thought of the MCU films on MCU Netflix shows.
Yeah.
Great choice, David. I'll let you have that one. He's also great in the Spider-Verse.
Oh yeah.
As the more cartoonish version.
Played by Liev Schreiber.
Yes, sure.
Who was Sabretooth in X-Men.
Was he?
Yeah.
Oh no, I thought you
Not
meant,
the original
I'm
X-Men.
thinking of what's the saber-toothed tiger in
An Ice Age.
Yeah, Manny, is it?
No, Manny was the elephant.
Elephant,
Diego.
it's a fucking mammoth.
Sorry, the mammoth. Fuck me.
Diego.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I was thinking that was his name, Sabretooth. Right, my number 5 you might have somewhere, although I don't think you'd have him as high as
Okay.
4 to 1. I've got Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah, Hannibal Lecter was one that I struggled leaving off, but I did leave him off.
God, I have specifically Anthony Hopkins. I just think Silence of the Lambs is a fantastic film. In main part due to Hopkins. We talked about John Bernthal making the most of his time.
Yeah.
My 5 and 4 are probably the best examples of that. Like Hannibal Lecter's not on screen for as much of Silence of the Lamb as you remember him.
Oh yeah, no. And he's almost not the villain of that film. Like the movie is set up for Buffalo Bill to be the villain, and then he kind of like breaks out and eats people.
Yeah, you could make that. If you told me to put Buffalo Bill on and not Hannibal Lecter, I could be convinced. But unlike the 3 that I did take off, I think you can't argue that Hannibal Lecter is not the antagonist.
Oh yeah.
If not the only antagonist, he's definitely he's the better antagonist.
Oh yeah, definitely.
What is he on the? He's on the film for like 21 minutes or something.
I don't know how much, but yeah,
it's
something
slightly
ridiculous
more
like
than my number 4. I think I don't want to say it just because I like to build the suspense. Yeah, he just makes the most out of it. Hello, Clary.
Yeah,
it's the creepiest thing I've ever heard.
That fucking thing he does with his tongue when he goes.
So weird.
I had his kidney with some fava beans and nice Chianti.
It's terrifying. I've never watched Hannibal the show.
I've watched the first season.
Just because when I went to watch it, it was cancelled.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I have a problem with watching cancelled shows. We get in trouble for not mentioning Silence of the Lambs and stuff like this.
Yeah.
We got in a heap for not including it on a horror list,
and
even though
Rosemary's
I don't consider
Baby.
it the horror. Yeah, well, Rosemary's Baby I think is more of a top 10 horror than this is. But admittedly, we have reasons.
Yeah.
For one, it was the top 10 favourite horrors, and Polanski, the pedo, kind of ruins it.
Yeah.
And 2, Silence of the Lambs isn't a horror film.
That's true, yeah. I'd say it's a thriller.
It's a psychological thriller maybe, but it's not a horror movie.
Yeah.
So Abby Walls can suck it for annoying us here. Yeah, so that's Hannibal Lecter. Who's your number 4, David?
My number 4 is Heath Ledger's Joker. Oh, it's your number 4 too?
What are the odds of that?
Yeah, 2 in a row. And we got... That happened last week. Or last
that happened last time with Get Out.
It happened something else as well. Yeah. I don't think we have to explain Heath Ledger's Joker getting up this high. Just everything about it. He's just the embodiment of pure anarchy. And the lack of a backstory, even his made up backstories where he changes it each time, it's so good.
This is, like I said, Anthony Hopkins, or maximize your time.
Yeah.
Because the Joker is, I think, on the screen less than Hannibal Lecter, or maybe slightly more.
I think it's a bit more because it's a longer film.
Oh, it is a longer film. Yeah, maybe more than.
In proportion, it's probably.
It's about the same percentage, maybe. But yeah, which scene? Because you could pick so many rewatchable scenes for the Joker. I constantly get recommended the pencil scene.
Yeah, I love that. The nurse scene where he's dressed up as the nurse.
The nurse scene
is hilarious.
Just Batman beating him around the room.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
I'll never not love. What is it? Are you crazy? Yeah. The Dark Knight is a.
It's. I've never seen any character like it. No. Even other iterations of the Joker.
No, like we said, Jack Nicholson might make a top 10 if we can include both Jokers.
Yeah.
But because we had to pick one, it's not a discussion.
Oh yeah, not a chance.
Like, it's as much as people humour this. Like, I do feel like Heath Ledger as the Joker, even if he's not as good, gets the bump because of how unfortunate it is.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's undeserved.
No, not a chance.
The posthumous. What's the word? Fuck. Posthumous.
Maybe.
Posthumous.
I think so.
The
Oscar he got after he died.
Post-death Oscar is not one I ever. The idea of it almost seems like, yeah, okay, let's give it to him. He died.
Yeah, but he fully deserved it.
Heath Ledger is the best.
Yeah, it's incredible.
I can't believe how good it is. Like, we have plans for the Dark Knight trilogy eventually, but this is the one we only do the trilogy to cover the Dark Knight.
Yeah, pretty much.
And we can't do Dark Knight when it begins.
Yeah.
So, like, the fact that we are planning a series just to get to this Joker is surely a sign. Yeah, the pencil scene on its own.
It's brilliant.
I don't think anyone doesn't know why this is here.
No.
I think even people who don't like comic book movies.
Oh, absolutely.
Love the Dark Knight.
Yeah. Back to me then, isn't it?
Your number 3, yeah.
My number 3.
Top 3 movie villains of all time, David.
All time. Going off of the
Except the 3 I took off my list.
That probably shouldn't be It probably shouldn't be in top 3, but I think it's top 10.
Okay.
And it's Negan from The Walking Dead, played by Jeffrey Dean Morgan. I think he came in at the worst point at the low point of The Walking Dead, and he carried that show through season 7 and 8. And since then, he has just fucking thrived. And I'm basing this partially as well from the comics as well.
Yeah, I feel it very strong to push that narrative, because if you're one of the people listening to this that's never read the comics, and that gave up on The Walking Dead after season 7,
oh yeah, you won't. You think I'm insane?
This.
Yeah,
I don't respect this.
This is your one veto, is it?
No. I would let you have Negan. I love Negan.
Yeah,
but top 3 villains ever is.
Yeah, I just think,
admittedly my number 2 maybe, but
Jeffrey Dean Morgan is just so, like, he's just such a good charming psychopath, and he's just, every scene he's in, no matter how bad that show got, I think Jeffrey Dean Morgan made that show worth watching.
Yeah, and when the show gets back to what it is.
Yeah, in season 9 and 10, he's
season 9
brilliant.
and 10, which most people who watch The Walking Dead won't hang around for.
Yeah.
And it's understandable. I wouldn't be surprised to give up on it. I give up on it and let it run for a season and get back to it.
Yeah.
I would have given up on it. But yeah, Negan in the comics especially, as much as Jeffrey Dean Morgan carries 7 and 8, and he still carries a pretty bad show.
Yeah.
For 7. At least 7.
Yeah.
Or is it 8? Which one's All Out War?
That's 8.
That's 8. Well, at least 8.
Yeah.
Because at least in 7, Negan shows up with the survivors so infrequently.
Yeah.
Like, it's every couple of episodes he shows up, and every time he shows up, he does something.
Yeah.
Because All Out War in the comics is just a...
Oh, it's brutal.
Just a 12 issue? 6 issue? 12, I think.
I think it's 12, yeah. Yeah,
it's just a 12-part series.
Yeah.
Just constant, non-stop action. Even probably the best example of... Well, there's 2 great examples of them watering it down. The All Out War, what they do with Sasha, what they do with her in the comic, well, not with Sasha, but with that idea of the war being delivered back.
Yeah.
Is so much better in the comics.
Yeah.
And the guts covered weapons.
Yeah.
But yeah, Negan in the comics is just a constant curse machine. I think the amount of times he says fuck is like Scorsese level.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll let you have Negan. The more you look at me with that lost face, the more I let you away with it.
Yeah, the more you realise I'm right. Yeah.
More
Because
I
I think, and I love his motives as well. Like, he's a warlord, but and I think this is, again, it's explained in like kind of like a spin-off comic as well, that his kind of backstory where he was like with groups of survivors, and he came to realize that, you know, if you're not, you know, absolutely brutal with people are going to die, and this kind of thing, that he's doing what's necessary to keep people safe and keep people in line, and he goes to extreme means to do it.
Like, there's a few we've said up here, like, when we eventually get to covering The Walking Dead, probably when it finishes, more likely, but what I feel like me and you have that most other people who would do it won't have is that we are insanely positive about The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Like, you love Fear the Walking Dead.
Oh, I love it.
So, I feel like we are not... Most people are going to be listening to this going, Negan, top 3.
Top 3.
But I could forgive it being put in... Because I only picked 2 TV villains.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's one of the top 3.
Yeah.
Or one of the top 2, whatever. I could probably find more, but I'll let you have Negan, David. I won't veto it.
Thank you very much.
You said I won't have Harry or number 2, maybe, so
yeah,
I might veto that one.
That's the one you're going to fight me on.
Yeah, so my number 3 is the other man named Hans.
Okay.
Hans Landa from Inglourious Basterds.
Oh, fuck, yeah. Shit.
This is, I'm assuming you didn't think of.
No.
Because I don't believe that you wouldn't have considered this.
Yeah, I didn't even...
Hans Landa from Inglourious Basterds. I didn't think I could leave him out.
Yeah.
Like, when I thought of this list, and like we said, both of us had like 5 names that popped in straight away.
Yeah.
Hans Landa, the Joker, Thanos, and Hans Gruber or Gus Fring, whichever one. I don't think I could have left them out.
Yeah.
What can you say about Hans Landa?
He's just... Christoph Waltz is... Yeah. He's so good. He's got this charming kind of... He's like... You know how sinister he is, but he's just talking so like eloquently and so well spoken. Like,
I feel... most portrayals of a Nazi in films like this tend to be like either unbelievably just evil, like cartoonishly, or just completely unbelievable. Like, you wouldn't believe that's an actual person that you're talking to. But I just think Hans Landa is so great. The scene that I always think of is near the start cabin, and he has the people hiding under the floors. That's with the main girl. It's just ridiculous. Just when he's talking.
It's brilliant. And I don't know who that actor is that he's talking with, but he does really well in that scene. That he's like does such a good job showing he's terrified of this man.
It's a great film. Tarantino writes great villains.
Yeah.
And I said earlier that I left one of mine off, but another one is a Tarantino villain. But I don't have too much to say about Hans Landa. I just wanted to let you know.
Okay, so my number 2. When I like first came up with this list, I thought, oh yeah, it was from like a movie that I really love, and I put him like at like number 10, and then I rewatched the film and I was like, oh, he's got to go higher, and eventually he made my way to number 2. So I've got The Operative from Serenity, which is the movie follow up to Firefly, played by Chiwetel Ejiofor, the wonderful actor. He is the operative. He gave up his name, his whole identity to work for the Alliance, the space government, as a bounty hunter essentially. And he's like this really well-spoken guy, and he's guided by these principles that he's like, he has to do all this awful shit, like murder people. There's one point in the movie where he just massacres like probably about 4 dozen settlements of like just innocent people just to smoke out Malcolm Reynolds. But he does all this because he believes that when his work is done, he can just kill himself and then the world will be free of sin. Because he's kind of challenged on this as well. And this is what I really like about it, because you often see these villains who are like doing this awful stuff and they're like justifying it. They're trying to justify their actions. But he says like, oh, I know, I don't belong in this new world. You know, like, once my work is done, I'm going to kill myself. And then will be a world free of sin. He also uses a sword, which is like completely out of absolutely fucking nowhere. There's no one uses swords in this thing. That's not a thing. So it's like it's like if you walk around now using a sword. Oh, it's so... actually, a better example is, imagine if you walked around, like, the Wild West using a sword.
Okay.
And no guns or anything. And he does this thing where he's almost like, kind of like, he's been inspired by kind of Japanese philosophy, where it's like, if you, like, killing yourself is an honourable death. Okay. So what he does is, this is like the first scene, he confronts this person who let a prisoner go. He hits them like a nerve or something, he paralyzes them. So they're, like, standing on their tippy toes, just about leaning forward, and he just kneels down in front of them and holds his sword there until they fall, and then they fall and he's like, don't worry, this is an honourable death, just look them in the eye. And it's just, he's so driven and motivated, and he's just, and Chiwetel Ejiofor is a brilliant actor as well, from 12 Years a Slave and Doctor Strange. But yeah, I just love him.
Okay, I'll let you have it because you seem so passionate about it.
Yeah.
My number 2 is Stansfield, played by Gary Oldman from Leon the Professional.
I haven't seen this.
I'm going to go quickly through it because I feel like we're going to go for 4 hours. Stansfield is a DEA agent played by Gary Oldman, and the film is about Leon the Professional is Leon, who is a professional hitman, or a cleaner as he refers to himself. He lives down the hall from this little girl, Matilda, who lives with her abusive father and her brother. Gary Oldman is a corrupt DEA agent, massive smackhead. He's just constantly out of it.
Yeah.
The abusive father has attracted the attention of Stansfield. Stansfield goes in, and instead of arresting him, it's just completely butchered the whole family.
Yeah.
Matilda comes home, sees that the trouble's going on in her apartment, walks past her place, and just picks Leon's door and knocks on it. And the whole film is about Leon taking in Matilda to keep her from getting murdered, but eventually Matilda coming into her own. And Gary Oldman is the ultimate opposite of Matilda.
Yeah.
They're two complete polar opposites here. And it's just, I'm not going to go for too long because Leon the Professional is a great movie that I don't think as many people have seen as they should have.
Yeah.
So just go watch. Wait for Stansfield and Matilda to be alone in a bathroom for the first proper one-on-one conversation they have is insane. Who is your best movie villain?
I'm going to guess it's different from yours. Okay. Because I don't think this is your number 1. But it's the cigarette smoking man from The X-Files. It's not your number 1? No. I love The X-Files. I started watching it like last year. Or actually probably this year. Probably started quarantine. And I've watched the entire thing. I'm on the reboot now, which not so good, but I just love him. He's played by William B. Davis, and he's just like the embodiment of the shadow government, where he's always in the background of stuff. Yeah. And
I've seen the first 3 seasons.
Okay. Have you seen the episode I think it's The Musings of the Cigarette Smoking Man, where it's basically talks about his backstory?
Maybe I stopped just before it or something.
You might not. It might be.
Maybe I have seen it and can't remember. Yeah. I started watching the X-Files like 3-4 years ago.
It's on Prime Video now.
Okay, yeah, no, it is. That's where
Yeah, so anyway, it talks about his kind of backstory up to this point, while as well always keeping it like vague enough. Like it shows he was involved in JFK, in Martin Luther King's assassination. It showed, there's one scene, it's a great scene, where they're just talking about like just how they're manipulating stuff. He's like, oh yeah, you got to make sure this team doesn't win the Super Bowls, and you've just got him like manipulating all this stuff. Like they drug a Russian hockey goalie, so the States beat them in ice hockey on the Miracle on Ice it was called. And then as this goes on, his kind of relationship to new characters are introduced, and his relationship to other characters, kind of like background characters, are explored more, and I just think it gets better and better, and he just never goes away. You always think like he kind of disappears for a bit, and he always just comes back, and he's better every fucking time, and I just love him. He's got some great quotes as well. Like he talks about how, you know, you could easily kill Mulder, but you know it's no good killing a man because he won't kill what he stands for. I just love him.
Yeah, the cigarette smoking man's great. I'm surprised you haven't included it. It's Anton Chigurh from No Country for Old Men.
Yeah.
Just because the low talking, no, don't lose your temper, don't be charismatic, you're just low talking, flip a coin.
Yeah.
What's the most you ever bet on a coin toss? Anton Chigurh inspires like a whole new wave of type of villain. Like, what I will tell you is, about a year after this film, maybe less, Chris Jericho turns to wrestling wearing a suit, being Anton Chigurh. Just, obviously without killing people.
That's an influence you can't buy.
It just, if Chris Jericho copies you. No, I just think No Country for Old Men is one of the great movies, and Anton Chigurh is one of the great villains. I don't have too much to say.
Yeah, like say, Anton Chigurh is brilliant. I kind of had him in my short list, but I just
didn't make the list. Yeah, that's grand. How could he make it in ahead of like
Negan? I know.
Yeah. I'm glad we had some different top threes, because this was my worry that we'd have the same. Anton Chigurh is...
I tried to weight my top three much more towards personal choice, so it would definitely be different.
Anton Chigurh, best movie villain of all time, alongside the cigarette smoking man.
There you go. He's the best movie villain, and cigarette smoking man's the best TV villain.
Okay, I'll have it.
Yeah, we've got a nice concrete ending there.
Right, do you have any last thoughts on our lists, David?
No, I've got some recommendations that people have come in with. Yeah, so we asked people for their suggestions, and they answered. Yeah, so Saoirse came in with Ursula from The Little Mermaid.
Yeah, I didn't accept it.
I said I'd watch, but I didn't.
You get Pokemon too.
What?
Did you get Jessie from Pokemon? No. Faker came at me with Jessie from Pokemon.
That's a poor choice. If you're going for someone from the Pokemon mythology, it's obviously blue.
I'm not getting into this conversation. Go.
Anto came in with the Joker. Ryan Kelly came in with Joffrey or Ramsey. Harry came in with his own top 10 list of Negan, Heath Ledger's Joker, Thanos, the Wicked Witch of the West, Vader, Deathstroke from Arrow, and Voldemort.
That's not a 10. But...
I don't know how many there was. Jamie Conlon came in with two solid shouts. Adam Sandler from Uncut Gems, in a sense that he's kind of his own villain. Okay, but the second one, Chang from Community. Abby said Hannibal Lecter, Norman Bates, and Patrick Bateman.
Yeah, Hannibal Lecter made my list.
Yeah,
Norman Bates and Patrick Bateman are two of the three that I took off my list because they're not technically.
Like Patrick Bateman is protagonist.
He is the protagonist. Yeah, as much as he is the bad guy, he's a villainous protagonist.
Yeah,
but he is not an antagonist.
Then we had McGowan with Walter White and Joycer with Gemma Teller.
Walter White doesn't count.
Yeah, that's what I thought, because he is like literally the protagonist for 5.5 seasons.
Criteria we set.
Yeah.
And Gemma Teller I agreed with but couldn't fit in.
Yeah.
I also, the one I told you I left out, the other Tarantino villain, is Calvin Candy.
Okay, yeah.
But I just couldn't squeeze him onto my list. I put Amy Dunn in ahead of him, but just because I think Amy's a different type of villain.
Yeah,
whereas Candy's more the same.
A couple of honorable mentions. Commodus, Saruman. Oh, I kind of wanted to put a comedic villain in. So I was torn between Doug Judy from Brooklyn Nine-Nine or the NWA from Hot Fuzz. Yes, okay, Caolan, you've brought a recommendation this week, have you?
Yes, David. As you know, the PlayStation 5 has launched recently.
It has.
And it launched with like big heavy hitters like Spider-Man, Demon's Souls, all the Assassin's Creed games or whatever, Watch Dogs. But the game that I can't stop thinking about, and I genuinely think I would have enjoyed Spider-Man Miles Morales more had I not also been playing this game, because I'm sitting playing Spider-Man thinking about Bug Snacks, right? It sounds ridiculous, right? But do you know what Bug Snacks is, David?
I've seen gameplay. I don't particularly know what it is. Okay.
There's these creatures. They're like, it's like a spider, but it's actually a bag of chips or something, like an ice pop or something.
Okay.
And you have to, it's basically a puzzle game with like it's like a family puzzle game. You can't die. There's no real stress about it. You just have these wee levels, and see, they're all the characters' names are like Wiggle, Fluffy Bottom, or something. Like they're all like ridiculous names.
They're all named after the Teletubbies. Yeah.
Yeah, they're all ridiculous names. So they'll come up to you and go, right, get me a Strabby, and a Strabby is just a tiny strawberry, and you have to catch it. But you're given like tools, so you'll have a cage that like you trap them in, but some are too big for the cage. So how do you get them? And you have to like get them to crash into each other, and then you can catch them. And then there's like flying ones. And I just think Bug Snacks is like, I'll have any new idea.
Yeah, okay.
Over like as much as I loved Spider-Man, you know exactly what you're getting from a Spider-Man game. Whereas when I jumped into Bug Snacks, I was like, I don't know what this is, and I'm loving it.
Okay,
and I've just recently beat it, and I'm going back now to tidy up collect all the rest of them.
Yeah,
and
get
stuff.
the platinum.
I'm going to get the platinum in it now. I feel like Glenn, friend of our former work and now pod, loves Bug Snacks too. I mean, him. I will just use this platform once a week now until it happens to ask for Bug Snacks too.
Okay.
So I would like to make this my first official pledge. The young horses make Bug Snacks too. Where can people find us on the medias, David?
People can find us on Twitter at 2men1pod, at Instagram at 2menonapod, YouTube at 2menapodcast, and at Gmail at 2menapod@gmail.com.
Right. Next week we are covering a man who might feel pretty bad about not making this list, at least in an honourable mention. We are covering Seven.
Oh shit! Yeah, I forgot we were covering.
Yeah, we're covering. Oh, you didn't know? I thought you were looking at me because you thought I didn't know.
No, I didn't.
Yeah,
know.
no, we are covering Seven next week.
Okay.
Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt.
Yeah, David Fincher.
Movie. Yeah. Psychological thriller about the 7 deadly sins. So get on it if you haven't seen it, and come back next week. This has been Our Villains.
Yeah. See you
Thanks
next
for
week.
listening. See you later.